There comes a moment in every human life when excuses become heavier than effort, when comfort quietly transforms into a prison, and when the greatest enemy standing in your path is no longer the world, it is the voice inside your own mind that whispers, tomorrow. Tomorrow is a beautiful illusion. It promises everything while stealing today. It offers hope without demanding action. It convinces ordinary people that time is infinite, that opportunities wait patiently, that strength appears on its own. But life has never rewarded those who waited for perfect conditions. Life rewards those who decide to move while their legs are shaking, while their confidence is absent, while nobody is watching, while the outcome remains uncertain. You have to grind. Not because the world is cruel, not because success belongs only to a chosen few, but because every meaningful transformation demands a price, and that price is paid in quiet moments of discipline that nobody applauds. The mountain does not become smaller because you wish for an easier climb. The ocean does not calm itself because you fear the waves. Reality bends for no one. It simply asks one question every single day. Who are you becoming? Most people answer with words. Very few answer with actions. The greatest tragedy is not failure. Failure is honest. Failure teaches. Failure strips away illusion until only truth remains. The real tragedy is living with unused strength. It is carrying gifts that never awaken because comfort became more attractive than growth. Inside, every human being lives two selves. One seeks pleasure. The other seeks purpose. One wants immediate relief. The other desires lasting freedom. Every sunrise begins another silent conversation between these two voices. One says, rest a little longer. The other says, rise. One says, you deserve comfort. The other whispers, you deserve the person you could become. The battle is invisible, yet it shapes every visible result in your life. People often believe discipline is punishment. It is not. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It is the quiet decision to honor your future more than your present emotions. Feelings are like clouds. They gather, they disappear. They change direction with every passing wind, but principles are mountains. They remain still while storms exhaust themselves. When you build your life upon emotions, every difficult day becomes a reason to quit. When you build your life upon principles, difficult days become another opportunity to strengthen your foundation. The ancient masters understood something that modern minds often forget. Power begins in stillness. A river appears gentle on its surface, yet over years it carves valleys through solid stone. It does not shout, it does not rush, it simply continues. That is the spirit of the grinder, not loud, not desperate, not obsessed with proving anything to anyone, only committed every single day. The world celebrates dramatic moments, the championship, the promotion, the applause, the breakthrough. But these moments are only the visible tip of an invisible mountain built through thousands of ordinary decisions. A single workout when nobody cared. Another page read while everyone else scrolled endlessly. One more hour of practice after exhaustion had already arrived. One more promise kept to yourself. These moments appear insignificant, yet life is not shaped by extraordinary events. It is shaped by ordinary actions, repeated with extraordinary consistency. You must understand something that few people ever truly accept. The person you become is more valuable than the things you obtain. Money without character creates anxiety. Power without wisdom creates destruction. Recognition without inner peace creates loneliness. But when you master yourself, everything else begins to find its proper place. The world spends enormous energy trying to control circumstances. Wise people spend their energy learning to control themselves. The weather changes. Markets rise and fall. People arrive and leave. Opinions shift like sand beneath restless feet. None of these belong to you. Your attention belongs to you. Your choices belong to you. Your response belongs to you. This is where freedom begins. The strongest person in any room is rarely the loudest. It is the one who no longer needs to react to every insult, the one who does not chase every distraction, the one who understands that silence often carries greater strength than endless explanation. Imagine standing before a mirror, not to judge your appearance, not to criticize your imperfections, but to ask one fearless question. Can I trust myself? Can I trust myself to wake up when I promised? Can I trust myself to continue when motivation disappears? Can I trust myself to finish what I started? Trust between two people is built through repeated honesty. Trust within yourself is built exactly the same way. Every promise you keep becomes another brick. Every excuse you accept removes another brick. Eventually, you either build a fortress of confidence or a house of doubt. No one else constructs it. You do. There is an ancient image of bamboo growing beneath the earth. For years, almost nothing appears above the surface. To the impatient observer, nothing is happening. No visible progress, no remarkable change, only empty soil. Yet beneath that silence, roots spread farther and deeper than anyone can see. Then one day, growth becomes impossible to ignore. People admire the height. Few appreciate the years spent becoming invisible strength. Your own life often unfolds this way. You may feel unseen, your efforts unnoticed, your sacrifices unrewarded. Continue anyway. Roots are never wasted. The tree that reaches highest into the sky is always the one willing to descend deepest into darkness. Most people fear invisible work because it offers no immediate validation, but the universe has never measured value by applause. Seeds germinate in darkness. Children grow before birth where no audience exists. Diamonds are formed under pressure, hidden beneath the earth. The greatest transformations always begin where no one is looking. Do not fear obscurity. Fear becoming addicted to attention. Attention is temporary. Character is permanent. Every morning offers a choice. Will you negotiate with your weakness, or will you strengthen your character? Weakness is intelligent. It speaks softly. It sounds reasonable. It says you have already done enough. It tells you missing one day changes nothing. It convinces you that consistency can begin next week. But weakness never asks for one day. It asks for today because it knows tomorrow will ask for itself. Strength speaks differently. Strength does not bargain. Strength does not scream. Strength simply says, do what must be done, and then it becomes quiet again. There is immense peace hidden inside disciplined living, not because life becomes easier, but because inner conflict begins to disappear. When your actions consistently match your values, your mind grows calm. Energy that was once wasted making excuses becomes available for creation. Attention that was scattered across endless distractions becomes concentrated like sunlight passing through a lens. And concentrated light has the power to ignite fire. Scattered light merely brightens a room. Think about the sword crafted by a patient blacksmith. Steel enters the fire again and again, hammered, folded, heated, struck, cooled, repeated countless times. If the metal possessed a voice, it might call the process suffering, yet the master calls it preparation. Life often treats you exactly the same. Challenges are not always interruptions to your path. Sometimes they are the path itself. Every disappointment reveals attachment. Every obstacle reveals weakness. Every delay reveals impatience. Every hardship reveals where greater strength must be forged. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what part of me is this experience trying to strengthen? That single question transforms pain into practice. It transforms hardship into education. It transforms ordinary existence into a lifelong discipline of becoming. You cannot become resilient while avoiding resistance. You cannot become courageous while escaping fear. You cannot become wise while refusing discomfort. Growth has never negotiated with convenience. It quietly waits beyond it. That is why you have to grind, not for the approval of strangers, not to satisfy your ego, not to outrun someone else's journey, but because every disciplined action removes another layer between who you are today and the person waiting patiently beneath years of hesitation. The world often teaches you to chase results, yet the deepest victories cannot be measured. There is no trophy for refusing to quit on a difficult morning. There is no audience when you choose integrity over convenience. There is no applause when you keep your word to yourself after everyone else has forgotten what you promised. And yet, these are the moments that determine the architecture of your soul. Every choice is carving something within you. You may believe you are simply deciding whether to wake up early or sleep another hour. In truth, you are deciding which identity becomes stronger. You may believe you are simply choosing whether to finish your work or delay it until tomorrow. In truth, you are deciding whether your future self will inherit strength or regret. Identity is not created by what you occasionally do. It is built by what you repeatedly refuse to negotiate. There is a strange kind of peace that arrives when you stop asking life to become easier and begin asking yourself to become stronger. That peace cannot be purchased. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be inherited. It is earned. It grows quietly inside those who no longer expect comfort to accompany every step forward. Think about the seasons. Winter never apologizes for being cold. Summer never rushes its arrival. The tree never complains because its fruit has not appeared overnight. Nature understands rhythm. Only human beings have convinced themselves that everything worthwhile should happen immediately. When reality refuses to obey their impatience, they assume something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. The seed is still becoming. The roots are still spreading. The unseen work is still unfolding beneath the surface. Patience is not waiting with crossed arms. Patience is continuing to work with unwavering faith while the evidence has not yet appeared. That is one of the rarest forms of strength. Anyone can continue after receiving encouragement. Anyone can work when success is guaranteed. Anyone can remain focused when the rewards are immediate. But can you continue when nothing seems to be changing? Can you continue when your progress is invisible? Can you continue when doubt arrives wearing the mask of logic? Because doubt rarely announces itself as fear. It often arrives sounding reasonable. It says perhaps you are wasting your time. Perhaps you started too late. Perhaps others are simply more talented. Perhaps this effort will never matter. Listen carefully. Every meaningful journey attracts these whispers, not because you are on the wrong path, because every higher version of yourself requires the lower version to surrender. The old habits do not disappear willingly. The old mindset does not leave quietly. Comfort does not release its grip without resistance. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy, afternoons when your attention scatters, evenings when your confidence seems distant. Do not confuse temporary feelings with permanent truth. The sky remains the sky even when clouds cover it. Your purpose remains your purpose even when emotions attempt to hide it. The disciplined person understands this. They do not wait to feel inspired before taking action. They understand that action often creates inspiration. Movement creates momentum. Commitment creates clarity. Consistency creates confidence. People search endlessly for confidence. They hope someone will give it to them. They hope success will magically produce it. But confidence is simply accumulated evidence. Every difficult promise you keep becomes evidence. Every uncomfortable task you complete becomes evidence. Every obstacle you overcome becomes evidence. Eventually, your mind has no choice but to believe what your actions have proven. That is authentic confidence, not loud, not arrogant, not dependent upon comparison, just quiet certainty. The certainty that says, I have faced difficult days before and I remain standing. There is an enormous difference between appearing strong and becoming strong. Appearance depends upon the opinions of others. Strength depends upon the choices you make when nobody is watching. A tree does not become stronger because someone praises it. It becomes stronger because it survives another storm. Your life will contain storms, not because you are unlucky, because storms reveal which roots are real. Many people spend years decorating branches while neglecting their roots. They pursue status before character, recognition before discipline, appearance before substance. But the first strong wind exposes every false foundation. Build your roots instead. Let your mornings become sacred. Guard the first moments of your day before the noise of the world enters your mind. Do not immediately surrender your attention to endless opinions, endless notifications, endless distractions. Your attention is one of the most valuable forms of energy you possess. Protect it. Whatever repeatedly captures your attention eventually shapes your identity. If your mind constantly feeds upon comparison, comparison becomes your prison. If your mind constantly feeds upon negativity, negativity becomes your language. If your mind constantly feeds upon purpose, purpose begins directing your life. You become what you repeatedly nourish. Just as the body reflects what it consumes, the mind reflects what it repeatedly entertains. Every thought you allow to remain eventually becomes easier to think again. This is why discipline begins long before action. It begins with observation. Observe your thoughts without becoming their servant. Observe your emotions without becoming their prisoner. Observe your fears without accepting them as commands. The wise do not believe every voice inside their own minds. They examine it. They ask whether it leads toward freedom or away from it. Silence teaches this better than endless conversation. There is wisdom that only reveals itself when the world becomes quiet. Not the silence of isolation, the silence of awareness, the silence where you begin noticing how restless your mind has become. Many people are uncomfortable being alone because they immediately meet the one person they have spent years avoiding, themselves. External noise often protects us from internal truth, but growth requires honesty. You cannot transform what you refuse to face. Sit with your weaknesses, not to condemn yourself, to understand yourself. Every impulse carries a lesson. Every insecurity points toward an unfinished part of your character. Every recurring distraction reveals where your attention still lacks direction. Do not run from these discoveries. Welcome them. The mirror never insults you. It only reflects. Life functions the same way. The obstacles that repeatedly appear are often reflecting the lessons you have not fully learned. When impatience continues appearing, perhaps patience has not yet matured. When anger continues appearing, Perhaps peace has not yet deepened. When fear continues appearing, perhaps courage has not yet been practiced enough. The lesson returns until the student changes, and every lesson accepted makes the next step lighter. There comes a point where discipline is no longer something you force. It becomes something you protect. Just as a gardener protects a growing plant, you begin protecting your habits. You become careful about what enters your mind, careful about who influences your spirit, careful about where your hours disappear, because you finally understand that your life is not built in years. It is built in moments. A distracted hour repeated daily becomes a distracted decade. A focused hour repeated daily becomes a transformed life. Never underestimate the quiet mathematics of consistency. A single drop of water seems powerless, yet given enough time it reshapes stone. A single disciplined day may appear insignificant, but days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years. Years become a destiny that once seemed impossible. People admire extraordinary lives without appreciating ordinary consistency. They see the harvest. They overlook the seasons of planting. They celebrate mastery. They ignore the years of repetition. Yet repetition is where greatness hides. Every master was once unknown. Every expert was once uncertain. Every disciplined soul was once tempted by the same excuses that tempt you today. The difference was never perfection. The difference was continuation. One more attempt, one more lesson, one more sunrise met with commitment instead of complaint. And somewhere along that long road, something remarkable begins to happen. The work that once felt difficult becomes natural. The discipline that once required enormous effort becomes part of your identity. The resistance that once seemed overwhelming begins to lose its voice, not because life has become easier, but because you have become deeper than your distractions, stronger than your impulses, and calmer than your fears. You begin realizing that the greatest victory was never reaching the destination. It was becoming the kind of person who could walk toward it without surrendering to every passing emotion. There is freedom in that realization, a freedom that cannot be taken away by failure, a freedom that cannot be stolen by criticism, a freedom that remains even when circumstances change. Because it no longer depends on what happens around you. It depends on what has been built within you. And once you discover that inner foundation, you begin to understand that the real grind was never against the world. It was against the habits that weakened your spirit, the distractions that divided your attention, the fears that convinced you to remain small, and the invisible chains that you had accepted for so long as if they were part of your identity. Then, little by little, with each disciplined breath, each focused decision, each quiet act of courage repeated when no one could see, you begin to recognize a truth that cannot be learned from books alone. The person you have been searching for has been waiting inside you all along, not hidden by a lack of talent, not separated from you by fate, only covered beneath layers of hesitation, fear, distraction, and habits that no longer deserve to guide your life. There is something extraordinary about a human being who decides to stop running. Not running toward pleasure, not running away from discomfort, not chasing approval, not escaping silence, but standing still long enough to meet themselves honestly. That meeting changes everything. Because once you see yourself clearly, you can no longer pretend that your circumstances are your greatest limitation. You begin to understand that every day offers another invitation, another opportunity to choose discipline over impulse, purpose over comfort, presence over distraction, growth over excuses. And those choices, though they appear small, are never small. A river does not ask whether each drop matters. It simply continues flowing until mountains yield. The sun does not wonder whether one more sunrise makes a difference. It rises anyway. Nature never doubts the value of consistency. Why should you? Perhaps you have failed before. Perhaps you have started and stopped more times than you can remember. Perhaps you carry memories of opportunities lost and promises broken. Do not allow yesterday to become the architect of tomorrow. The past is a teacher, not a prison. Its purpose is to offer wisdom, not identity. Every sunrise arrives without asking what happened yesterday. It simply offers another beginning. Life does the same. The question is not whether you deserve another chance. The question is whether you will recognize the one already placed in your hands. You do not need a different life to begin becoming different. You need a different decision. One decision made with complete sincerity. One promise that is no longer negotiated. One commitment that remains standing after motivation has quietly walked away. Because motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident. Motivation may knock on your door from time to time, filling your heart with excitement and possibility. Welcome it when it comes, but never build your future upon a guest. Build it upon habits that remain faithful when inspiration is nowhere to be found. There will always be people who misunderstand your journey. Some will question your discipline because it reminds them of the promises they abandoned. Some will call your focus obsession because they have become comfortable with distraction. Some will laugh while you are building in silence. Do not resent them. Do not argue with them. Keep walking. Time has a way of revealing what words never can. Your responsibility is not to convince others. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to the person you are becoming. The eagle does not descend to explain itself to every bird that doubts its flight. It simply continues rising. Protect your peace with the same determination that you protect your ambition. There is no victory in reaching the top if your mind remains restless. There is no success in gaining the world while losing yourself. The strongest people are not those who conquer everyone around them. They are the ones who have learned to govern their own thoughts, direct their own emotions, and remain steady in the middle of uncertainty. Self-mastery is the quiet throne upon which every lasting achievement is built. The world may measure wealth in numbers, status in titles, success in applause, but your life will always be measured by something deeper, by the promises you kept when breaking them would have been easier, by the truth you spoke when silence would have protected your comfort, by the kindness you offered when bitterness seemed justified, by the discipline you practiced long before anyone noticed its results. These are the invisible victories. These are the victories that shape a life worth living. One day you will look back, not at the trophies, not at the compliments, not even at the milestones. You will remember the mornings when you almost gave up but didn't. The evenings when exhaustion begged you to stop but you took one more step. The lonely seasons when faith was all you had. You will realize those moments were never obstacles. They were the forge. They were the sacred fire shaping your character. You will understand that every sacrifice was teaching you freedom. Every challenge was expanding your capacity. Every disciplined choice was introducing you to a version of yourself that comfort could never reveal. And when that realization settles into your heart, something remarkable happens. Gratitude replaces complaint. Purpose replaces confusion. Calm replaces chaos. You stop asking life to guarantee the outcome. You simply become grateful for the opportunity to walk the path with integrity. Because in the end, the goal was never merely to arrive. It was to become. To become someone whose word means something. Someone whose presence brings peace instead of noise. Someone whose strength creates hope in others. Someone who walks through difficulty without surrendering their values. Someone who no longer needs the world to believe in them because they have learned to believe in themselves through action, not imagination. So when this moment ends and the noise of ordinary life returns, remember this. The life you dream about will not be built in dramatic moments. It will be built in the next decision, and then the one after that, and the one after that. The next sunrise, the next difficult conversation, the next hour when no one is watching. That is where your future is waiting. Not in wishing, not in waiting, not in wondering. In doing. Walk your path with patience. Carry your burdens with dignity. Protect your mind from distraction. Guard your character more fiercely than your reputation. Choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong. Stand back up every time life brings you to your knees. Let silence sharpen your wisdom. Let hardship strengthen your spirit. Let discipline become the language through which your future speaks to your present. And never forget that the greatest transformation is not the one the world applauds. It is the one that happens within you so quietly that one day you wake up and realize the person who once searched for excuses has become the person who creates possibilities. That is the power of self-mastery. That is the reward of discipline. That is how an ordinary life becomes extraordinary, not through one heroic moment, but through thousands of faithful choices made when no one else could see. So rise, do the work. Keep your word, master your mind, master your habits, master yourself. Because the strongest victory you will ever achieve is not over another person, not over circumstance, and not over fate. It is over the part of yourself that once believed you could not become more. The day you conquer that voice is the day your real life begins.